Caitlin Clark and Sue Bird. Sue Bird might have hoped to smooth over the crisis before training camp, but Caitlin Clark's tears told a different story. Faced with pressure from Team USA to abandon her iconic number 22, Clark's emotional response revealed just how personal and painful this battle has become. The jersey isn't just merchandise. It's a monument to her career, her journey, and a legacy she's built through every headline-making performance. And yet, despite no other player claiming the number, the organization insists on stripping it away, an act that feels more like punishment than protocol. It's a stark reminder of how female athletes are still expected to compromise in spaces they've helped elevate.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
What's unfolding isn't just a disagreement over a number. It's a test of how far a sports institution will go to assert control over a star it clearly underestimates. Clark has become the most recognizable face in women's basketball, and her brand reaches beyond the court. To silence that identity, even symbolically, is to challenge her place in the sport's power structure. And in doing so, Team USA may have awakened a broader resistance, not just from fans, but from a generation of athletes no longer willing to be told who they are. Caitlin Clark cried, and not because of a loss, not because of a bad game, not even because of some random online hate. She cried because Team USA tried to erase her. They didn't bench her. They didn't cut her. But they went for something deeper, something personal. They came for her number. And in women's basketball, where every bit of visibility is earned through grit, hustle, and sheer persistence, this wasn't just a jersey issue. It was a calculated slap in the face. Fever jersey. Let's start with what should be obvious to anyone paying attention. Caitlin Clark is number 22. That number is etched into highlight reels, banners, and the backs of thousands of jerseys sold across the country. It's part of her identity, her legacy, and her brand. And when Team USA tried to force her to give it up, it wasn't a casual ask. It was a move that said, "You don't get to control your image here." Clark didn't just say no. She pushed back. Hard. And rightfully so. This isn't some freshman walking into her first tryout. This is Caitlin Clark, arguably the most influential player in the sport right now. Her impact has gone beyond the court. Her presence pulls more viewers, sells more tickets, and elevates the entire sport. She's earned everything tied to that number. So when she was told to switch, it wasn't just disrespect. It was an insult. And the worst part, there's no valid excuse. No one else is wearing number 22. It's not reserved. It's not taken. It's empty. So if that number is available, why is the most recognizable name in the game being denied it? This isn't about numbers. It's about control. Caitlin Clark and Sue Bird. Reports say they offered her number 17 instead, a number that means absolutely nothing to her. No emotional connection, no legacy. Just a generic replacement. And for what? Because someone at the top doesn't want a player to be bigger than the team? But here's the thing. Clark is bigger than the team. Not in a toxic way. In a reality way. Her influence, her reach, her visibility, all of it is miles ahead of the average. She's not just a star player. She's a brand. And not honoring that, especially over something as symbolic as her jersey number, shows how out of touch the system still is. And it's not just her fans who are upset. The entire women's basketball community is buzzing. Coaches, analysts, former players, they're all watching this play out, and it's sending a terrible message. Because if Caitlin Clark, with all her impact and momentum, can be pushed around like this, what hope is there for everyone else? Team USA didn't just mishandle this. They created a PR crisis. What was supposed to be a pivotal training camp, meant to highlight the best talent in the country, has now been completely overshadowed by internal tension and a very public show of disrespect. The media isn't talking about team cohesion or Olympic prep. They're talking about how the most famous player in the room is being treated like a nuisance. And to make it even messier, insiders are saying Sue Bird is involved, trying to smooth things over. That adds another layer, because Sue Bird is a legend in her own right. She's supposed to be the bridge between generations, the one who gets it. But if she's spending more time on damage control than advocating for Clark, What does that say about where her priorities are? It says that even legends can be out of touch. Or worse, complicit. This whole ordeal isn't just one bad call. It's a reflection of deeper, systemic issues that continue to plague women's sports. Athletes are still treated like guests in their own space, expected to follow outdated rules, told to be team players even when the team refuses to respect them. Caitlin Clark crying wasn't a meltdown. It was the emotional weight of being reminded, yet again, that no matter how good you are, how hard you've worked, or how big your platform is, you're still subject to the whims of an institution that doesn't value your identity. And fans are done tolerating it. Social media has exploded with support for Clark. People are calling out the hypocrisy, the control tactics, the dismissive attitude toward the most important figure in the game right now. They're not just backing her. They're demanding accountability from the people trying to diminish her. Because this isn't just about Clark. It's about what she represents. Visibility, progress, power. The ability for women athletes to build something bigger than the game and still be respected within it. Stripping her of number 22 is a symbolic erasure of that power. And it shows just how far organizations will go to remind players who's really in charge. But they've miscalculated. Because Clark has the kind of support you can't manufacture. Her fans aren't casual. They're passionate. And they're watching every move Team USA makes. At the center of all this is the same old power struggle. The institution wants control. The athlete wants agency. But the difference now? The athlete has the platform. Caitlin doesn't need to throw a fit. She doesn't need to make threats. Her silence alone speaks volumes. And when your star player is crying over how she's being treated, not injured, not cut, just disrespected, something is seriously broken. What should have been a celebration of elite talent has become a textbook example of what not to do. Deny the athlete their identity. Downplay their influence. Hope they fall in line. But Clark isn't here to fall in line. She's here to lead. And whether Team USA acknowledges it or not, that leadership is already in motion. This situation could have been handled with a 5-minute conversation and a basic understanding of how branding works. Instead, it's turned into a controversy that's dominating the women's basketball conversation. And not in a good way. The organization may be trying to save face now. Maybe they thought they could wait it out. Maybe they thought Clark would cave. But what they underestimated is how connected she is to her fans and how disconnected they are from what those fans actually care about. Because when the most influential player in women's basketball says, "This matters to me," and your response is "too bad," you're not just making a bad call. You're showing your entire hand. And now the question is, does Clark stand her ground, even if it means sitting out? Or does she put on a new jersey and let her game do the talking? Either way, the damage is done. Trust has been broken. And no matter how this ends, the story isn't going away. Because Caitlin Clark's legacy is still being written, and it's bigger than any organization that tries to erase it. Let us know your thoughts. Should Team USA give the number back? Should Clark fight it or focus on playing? Hit the like button, drop a comment, and subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter in this absolute mess. Because something tells us it's far from over. And here's the part that's hardest to swallow. This whole thing could have been avoided. There was no practical reason, none at all, to deny Caitlin Clark her jersey number. Number 22 wasn't spoken for. No senior player demanded it. There was no legacy attached to it at the Team USA level that would have made it off limits. So why stir this up? Control. That's the answer. It always comes down to control. Team USA had a choice. Honor the identity of their biggest star, or make an example out of her. And they chose the latter. They wanted to remind her, publicly, that no one is above the institution. Not even someone who's done more for women's basketball in 1 year than the organization has managed in decades. Because Caitlin Clark doesn't just fill seats, she sells out arenas. She doesn't just move merch, she dominates the charts. She isn't just a player. She's a walking headline, a cultural shift, and a brand with real weight. And that terrifies the system. Let's not kid ourselves. This isn't just about basketball. It's about the tension between tradition and transformation. Caitlin Clark is ushering in a new era, one where female athletes aren't just competitors. but icons, where their names carry financial weight, where they don't need to bow to archaic rules to be successful. And for organizations that have always operated on hierarchy and obedience, that's a threat. So what do? They try to humble her. They come for the one thing that represents her journey, her identity, her brand. Her number, not her minutes, not her contract, her number. That's how petty and precise the power play is. And the emotional toll? It's real. Clark's reaction wasn't performative. It wasn't a calculated PR move. She cried. Because for all the noise and glamour and spotlight, she's still an athlete who's been working her whole life for a dream. And the moment she gets to wear the red, white, and blue, she's told she has to erase a part of who she is to do it. That's not just disappointing. That's devastating. What does that say to young athletes watching this unfold? That even if you become the face of your sport, you'll still be forced to compromise who you are to be accepted by the system? That no matter how many records you break or fans you inspire, you'll still be expected to know your place? It's demoralizing, and it's a massive missed opportunity. Team USA could have taken this moment to show that they get it, that they're evolving with the times, that they're not just recruiting talent, they're uplifting icons. Instead, they doubled down on the idea that no player is bigger than the jersey, even if the entire world knows that the player is why the jersey matters. This is about ego, plain and simple. The organization wanted to prove a point, and in doing so, they've created one of the biggest controversies in women's basketball since, well, ever. And let's talk about the silence. Because it's loud. Where's the statement? Where's the clarity? Where's the acknowledgement that this controversy has spiraled out of control? Nowhere. Because they think if they stay quiet long enough, the storm will pass. That Clark's fans will get distracted. That she'll eventually relent, we're 17, and move on. But they're missing the entire point. This isn't just about Caitlin Clark. It's about what she represents. She's not just asking for a number. She's asking for respect. And that's what's fueling the outrage. Fans aren't just mad because their favorite player got disrespected. They're mad because they see themselves in her. They see every time they were told to sit down, be grateful, and follow the rules, even when the rules made no sense. And what's even more frustrating is that this isn't new. Women athletes have been fighting this battle forever, having to choose between their identity and their opportunity. And when someone like Clark, who clearly brings more value than most, still gets told to fall in line, it sends a message that not much has actually changed. The fans are smarter than ever. The media is watching. The players are more empowered. And yet, somehow, the institutions still think they can gatekeep identity and ownership. But Clark's not backing down. Not because she's stubborn, because she knows what this means. Giving up number 22 isn't just about a digit on a jersey. It's about handing over the narrative. It's about letting an outdated system reassert control over a player who's clearly outgrown their model. And even though she's shown nothing but professionalism, the fact that she's even in this position says everything. It's a reminder that the higher women climb in sports, the more resistance they face from the very systems they're carrying. And let's not forget, this controversy didn't happen in isolation. It follows a pattern. From Olympic snubs to weirdly handled media appearances, Clark has been walking a tightrope ever since she became the face. And instead of being embraced, she's being managed, minimized, controlled. It's exhausting, and it's embarrassing for the institution, because what they should be doing is rallying around her, protecting her, giving her the tools to succeed and inspire. But instead, they're creating unnecessary conflict that only hurts the sport. It hurts the brand, it alienates fans, and it makes the organization look like it has no clue how to handle success when it shows up in a woman. You don't have to love Caitlin Clark's game to recognize that she's elevated women's basketball to a level we haven't seen in a long time. Her impact is measurable. Her presence is profitable. She's a once-in-a-generation athlete. And the fact that she's being treated like a PR liability instead of a national treasure, that's the scandal. And whether or not she ends up wearing that number, the point has already been made. This isn't just about a decision. It's about the mindset behind the decision. The refusal to recognize that times have changed, that athletes have brands now, and that trying to strip them of that is not only outdated, but dangerous. Because the more organizations try to suppress these athletes, the more fans rally behind them, the more they expose the cracks in the system, and the more players realize that they don't need the system to validate them. That's the real shift. That's what makes Caitlin Clark dangerous. Not just her shooting range or her stat sheet, but her influence, her ability to make people care, her refusal to just play along. She's not just a player. She's a disruptor. And that scares the hell out of institutions that still think they can micromanage greatness. So what happens next? Does Team USA reverse the decision and give her 22 back? Or do they keep digging their heels in, hoping the backlash will fade? Do other players speak out? Or will they stay silent, not wanting to risk their own spots? Does Caitlin walk away from the camp? Or does she wear the new number and let her game speak for itself? Whatever she chooses, she's already won the narrative. The fans are behind her. The media is watching. The conversation has shifted, and now it's the institution that has something to prove. Because if the most recognizable player in women's basketball can't be respected by her own national team, then what does that say about the rest of the sport? It says there's still a long way to go, that the fight for autonomy, for recognition, for basic respect is far from over. And it also says this: athletes are no longer staying quiet. They're not just taking the shot, they're calling them. The weight of this moment is crushing, and not just for Caitlin Clark, but for everyone watching it unfold. Because this isn't about one decision. It's about what that decision represents. Let's not sugarcoat it. Team USA had a chance to stand on the right side of a cultural shift. A shift that's already in motion, with athletes, especially women athletes, finally claiming control over their stories, their brands, their worth. And instead of leaning into that, the organization hit the brakes. Hard. They didn't just say no to number 22. They said no to progress. And what's maybe most infuriating of all is how subtle they try to make it seem. Like this was normal. Like it wasn't personal. But when you strip a player of her identity without explanation, when a number she's worn her entire career is left unclaimed while she's assigned something random, you can't spin that in a coincidence. It's not subtle. It's deliberate. And people aren't buying it. The optics are atrocious. Team USA just sent a message, loud and clear, to every rising star in the sport. Your legacy doesn't matter here. Your individuality? Irrelevant. Your brand? A nuisance. Be grateful. Fall in line. And Clark's response? She cried. Not in front of cameras. Not in a meltdown. But in frustration. In quiet anger. Because she knows what this is. She knows that she didn't just lose a number. She lost the respect she thought she'd earned. And here's the thing. She has earned it. Fever jersey. We're not talking about someone who's coasting on hype. Caitlin Clark has broken records, drawn record crowds, and shifted the narrative around women's basketball entirely. Her jersey number isn't just fabric and digits. It's an emblem. A rallying cry. A brand that fans connect with, that little kids were to games, that means something. And now, in what should have been a career milestone, her invitation to represent her country, she's being told that all of that has to go. That if she wants to wear the uniform, she has to erase a part of herself first. And the kicker? They offered no justification, no clarity, just a new number and a silent expectation that she'd take it. It's insulting. This isn't about Caitlin being difficult. It's about her knowing her value. She understands what 22 means. She understands what she means to the sport right now. And most importantly, she understands that if she lets this slide, if she just accepts it, it sets a precedent. Because if Caitlin Clark can't protect her brand, who can? If Team USA can steamroll the most prominent athlete in women's basketball over a number that no one else even claimed, what does that say about their approach to power? To autonomy? To women in general? And if we're being real, this kind of control isn't new. It's just more visible now. Female athletes have always had to fight harder. For pay, for coverage, for facilities, for basic acknowledgement. And now, even when one of them breaks through all of that and becomes undeniable, she's still being told to stay small. That's the root of this. It's not about a number. It's about shrinking someone who's become too big to ignore. They want to remind her that no matter how famous she gets, no matter how many jerseys she sells, they hold the final say. And that's why this has become so explosive. Because the fans, they're done with that narrative. We're living in an era where athletes are the brand. They drive the conversation. They move the culture. And when organizations try to operate like it's still 1995, it doesn't go unnoticed. It backfires. This isn't just a PR fail. It's a public power struggle. One where the institution still believes it can act with impunity. And the audience, the people, are saying no, loudly. So where does this leave Caitlin Clark? Trapped in a no-win situation, honestly. If she walks away, she'll be labeled difficult, entitled. The media will spin it. The critics will come out of the woodwork. She'll be accused of putting herself above the team. But if she stays, if she puts on that number 17 jersey and plays like nothing happened, she sends the message that even she can be broken down. And no matter what she chooses, she's the one who has to bear the consequences, not the institution that created this mess. That's what's so broken about this system. The athlete always pays the price, even when they're right. And you can feel the tension now. This situation isn't cooling off. It's getting hotter. Every day that passes without a statement, every game she plays without number 22, the narrative digs in deeper. It's a constant reminder that this moment was mishandled from the very beginning. What's wild is that all of this could have been a win for Team USA. They had a superstar ready to bring unprecedented attention to the program. They had fans buzzing. They had a cultural moment at their fingertips. And they threw it away to prove a point. A petty, outdated. And now, instead of celebrating a new era, they're stuck defending a decision no one can justify. Instead of empowering a once-in-a-generation player, they're alienating her. And instead of owning their mistake, they're hiding behind silence, hoping it'll all blow over. But it won't. Because the fans won't forget how Clark was treated. The players won't forget. The media won't forget. And Clark herself? She definitely won't forget. This will follow Team USA, whether they reverse the decision or not. It's now part of their legacy, how they handled the most marketable athlete in the game, and what they chose to do when she asked for something that should have been a no-brainer. So what do we do with this? We keep talking about it. We don't let it fade. Because this isn't just a Caitlin Clark story, it's a warning. A warning to every young athlete who's watching and learning what happens when women step into their power. They get told to step back, but not anymore. Not with the world watching. Not when the audience has a voice, too. So tell us what you think. Should Clark stay and make her statement on the court? Should she walk and send even bigger one off the court? Comment below, like the video if you're tired of athletes being silenced, and subscribe to stay updated. Because this story isn't over. And the way it ends might just change the game for good.